No, good afternoon. I think this is going to be one of those videos that I question why I did this video, because it's going to generate a whole bunch of commentary. Plus I'm competing with some bees. They want to sting my ass for some reason. And I'm competing with chipmunks that are having a yelling match somewhere off in the woods. But the reason I'm putting this video together is because of a post that was on one of the forums talking about Stihl MS660s versus Jonsered 2094s. And it was kind of like this YouTube video of two modified saws where one effectively cut 3 cuts in the same time it took the other to do 2 cuts. The implication was one was significantly faster than the other, and maybe it was in that particular video. But of course in YouTube land and Cyberland, that means that all the saws of one class are faster than all the saws in the other class, and that's not true, especially when you get into modded saws. In this case it was a Stihl MS660 that was modified by a person who knows him quite well and has been doing it for a very long time, versus a work saw modded Jonsered 2094 by another person who knows how to build saws. Might have had a different goal in mind. You can build these things, especially when you get into the 90cc displacement class. You can build them for torque, you can build them for RPMs. When you have that kind of displacement, you have a lot of latitude. You can get away with a lot. So that one YouTube video might show 2 different saws with 2 different build priorities. And you really can't make the kinds of judgments and assessments that I think is going to happen as a result. So what am I doing with all these saws? Is I've got a variety of players here. I've got a Jonsered 920 that had the cylinder modified slightly, just the transfers, the base, to make it more like a 930. It runs better. You know, it's not an earth-shattering saw. It's just a good, strong, powerful, you know, close to 90cc saw. Cyclops. The Farmertec MS660 that I've been using quite a bit lately. And my original Fugly saw. And when I say Fugly, I mean it. This saw right here, I'm not even sure I can get it started. But its origins was a blown-up saw that I had acquired, and it was just sort of a beater. I mean, this saw has just been through years and years of prologuing, and when I got a hold of it, it had a stuck cylinder, and you can see the crash damage, and it was just basically a beat-up saw. At the time, I wasn't too awful interested in having pretty saws. I was just as interested in making the damn thing run as anything else. And since it was already ugly, I figured, let me make it uglier and maybe make it a little bit more powerful than what it was. Didn't put a degree wheel on it. Just kind of did a few things and to see if I could first make it run and then make it run better. Well, I did make it run, and I did make it run better. It actually turned out to run quite strong. Now, several years later, and quite a bit of experience later, you know, I probably would have done something completely different. But since it is what it is, I leave it alone. I'd run it, pull it out once in a while, and beat myself up with it because it's a monster. It really is. Now, if you've watched my series, you know exactly what that saw is. Same with that one. And yes, I've talked about that one as well. So this is the cast of characters. And what I'm going to try to do this evening is take that log and roll it up to where I can take some slices. And understanding that it's not exactly a uniform log, I'm a little afraid of taps in it. And take some time cuts with these saws and just sort of get a ballpark of how they cut one relative to the other. The bridge saw is Cyclops. If you've watched my other videos, you know roughly how Cyclops fits into the mix with a typical saw. You know, it's quite a bit faster than a stock 372, but it's not going to run with a built 80cc saw, you know. It's a strong saw, but it's a work saw. And this one here we have yet to put a clock on. It runs strong. I have made no modifications to it whatsoever. All I did was make it run. Basically, it was built with the parts that I was able to acquire online from eBay, mostly from Farmertec, but a few other parts as well. So nothing special on that saw at all. And of course, I just told you about Fugly 1. This is the original Fugly, like I said before, and it still is ugly. And as a control, the 920. That one there, it needs a little bit of paint. I use that saw quite a bit. It actually gets a fair amount of time blocking firewood. You know, a fair amount of that gets blocked with that big old saw. This is a used, beat up 2095 cylinder. What's that? Oh, that's a 390. Look at that. Notice a little bit of a difference in design. Always a good reference. This is a Homelite. Take a look at that combustion chamber. Look at those transfers. This is a Chinese MS660 cylinder. Look at the layout of those ports. Look at the size of that combustion chamber. I've got a new old stock one of these somewhere, so you won't see all the carbon in there. If you look at the sides of the combustion chamber and the squish band, and you look at the same combustion chamber size and squish band on the 2095, they're about the same. You look at the port layout, look at the transfers on the steel, roughly the same. You know, exhaust, a little different. Of course, this is a Chinese cylinder, so you're not going to have as much you're not going to have the uniformity a stock one would have, an OEM one. Intake. Point is, the layout of those two cylinders is very, very similar. Very similar. So without further ado, let me get these saws running if I can and get some time. So what I'm going to do is, again, this is not a scientific comparison, it's just ballparks, basically orders of magnitude versus a precise comparison. First is, if you look at that log, you'll see that it's very thick in the end towards the truck and then loses diameter as it goes west. And yeah, I was able to PV this up and over, and I put a few cookies down there just to try to keep from digging the blade into the ground if I push through a little bit enthusiastically. cylinder on there was modified the same way as this one here. This is also a 920. I don't have a flashlight, but the squish band is actually pretty flat. The combustion chamber size is roughly the same as the MS660, and it's got the same layout on the sides, the 2 ports. It's compared to the quad port, like a 390. Farmertec cylinder, which has the same layout as a steel MS660. Actually, this is not a Farmertec. I should do a side segment. The Farmertec is actually a lot better than this. I found this on Parts Angel, eBay. I just bought one for 25 bucks to see what it was like, and guess what? You get what you pay for. But the reason I'm showing you the cylinder is not because of the quality. It's because the layout of the ports is pretty much the same as a stock steel MS660, and the neck saw is a Farmertec MS660 with a similar port layout, which is also similar to that Jonsered. This is Cyclops. You should know this saw quite well. bad for a little saw, is it? That's what I like about it. That, my friends, is why it's my saw on the tractor. Cuts nice and strong, and it's easy to start and pretty lightweight. That's the 2094, and what I can tell you is this: that chain's got a little more time on it, so it's not biting quite as hard as the other saws. I'll tell you, in the hand, that saw there feels like it would just absolutely destroy the other saws, given the same bar and chain. More RPMs, you can lean on it just as hard. I'm tempted to put another bar and chain on it and give it another shot.